Another episode of Post-Fades Cheesesteaks. Your usual host today, myself, Dakota. Timothy, of course.
How are we?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
Can't complain. Doing well. Could be better, but it's all right.
How you feeling after the Eagles loss on Sunday?
Every loss stinks. It was a bummer. Obviously, I think they got our hopes up a little, higher than what they were going to produce this season after week one. But that's all right. It's still young in the season. They're still working things out. I think when this schedule came out, everyone looked at the first three games and said, you know what? I'm perfectly fine going 2-1 after week 3 if you win next week. If they can beat Dallas on Monday night, I'll forgive them for the Niners loss. And it just hurts. What hurt the most is I think they were in it the whole way. I think it was a game they should have won. They were dominating them in the first half, and you really had nothing to show for it. And then give the Niners credit. They made adjustments. They adjusted to exactly what was working for the Eagles, and the Eagles just never countered. It was disappointing to see. You could see, like, the one thing I noticed in particular, and I don't know if you saw this, they had success with the deep ball, obviously with the Quez Watkins pass, and then even with the Rager pass, they got called back when he stepped out of bounds.
Sure.
There was separation. The ball was there. And then I felt like the Niners made the adjustment to limit the deep ball, and Sirianni just kept on calling up plays, trying to get it downfield, and it was never there. And it's a bummer because I think if it played more of the game they played against Atlanta with like the quick passes and just letting your wide receivers get in space and make plays, it would have worked better. But it is what it is. It was definitely a game they should have won. That's what's frustrating about it. And my biggest concern coming from the game is obviously you lost Graham. And when Graham got hurt, that pass rush was a lot weaker. Lot weaker. We could not get to Jimmy after Graham went down, and it was noticeable. Hargrave, Ridgeway, they started very strong in the beginning. They were getting in Jimmy's face. They were having their way with it. And then Graham left, and things never looked the same. And now that we definitely know, with the ruptured Achilles, that he's out for the whole year.
Yeah.
Worrisome for sure. But those are some of my first takeaways. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it's, you pointed out that yes, they had a couple deep shots that they took, but I think overall the passing game is, I don't know if it's Sirianni is just like trying to establish his offense first, but so far it's a very simple, short route offense with like an occasional bomb.
Very vanilla.
It's very vanilla. This is the problem. You look at, if you pull up receiving yards, so Quez Watkins had 91 yard reception or whatever.
Yeah.
So you take that away, he had one catch for 30 yards or 20, 30 yards, whatever.
Yeah.
That's still the highest on the team because behind him was Goddard, 2 for 24, Gainwell, 2 for 18. Devontae had 2 catches for 16 yards. Ertz had 1 catch for 6 yards. Rager had 2 catches for 5 yards, and Miles had 1 for 4. Those are terrible stat lines. 20 yards for your second highest receiver. That's not good.
Yeah, no, there was the play calling looks so vanilla. Every time he was throwing the ball, it looked like the coverage was there every time. And
what's funny about it's even with the new coaching staff, it's like the same Eagles team where I swear every time we go into a game where a defense has secondary injuries or their secondary is questionable and they're like, oh, they should take shots. They never take shots. They always try to run the ball. I don't know why, but this always happens. And I think what they were trying to do was establish the run so that they could just unload on the pass. But that San Fran D line was getting after us. I didn't think Sanders had any good yardage until I looked at the stats. He had 13 carries for 55. So that's still a 4.2 average, which was surprising because it looked like he was getting stuffed most of the day.
Yeah.
There was nowhere for him to run. There were no holes. They were clogging everything up.
Yeah. The couple of things that were glaring to me was how many times were we on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 and we just never converted? I just never saw that. Those short yardage plays, we struggle with so much. Why
is Jordan Howard on the practice squad? He's a big body running back. Bring him in.
That was kind of where my attention went was, I like Gainwell. I think he's earned his reps and Sanders is solid, but it's that added dimension that you're clearly lacking. You're struggling in those short yardage situations and you have an answer for that, or at least something you can change for it. I was a little disappointed. Like in the beginning of the game, we looked so dominant. And then they couldn't score in the red zone, which was just, like getting the 91-yard pass and getting no points out of it was just unacceptable. You can't win games doing that. That fourth down play where they did that Philly, whatever nonsense they tried to pull off, I thought that was a terrible call. I didn't like that at all. I just feel like the adjustments weren't being made by the coaching staff. Like, Hurts was under pressure, but ultimately, I think when it came to passing, like he was sacked twice, but I think ultimately the line held up well in pass protection for him against that D line. I think they struggled more in run blocking, but like it looked like Hurts was looking, and we saw him scramble, which is a huge positive of his game. Is he knows it's not there and he gets out of the pocket and he scramble. Yeah. But like it just felt so boring. Like I felt like Hurts was holding the ball, waiting for something that was never happening. We never changed anything. What was working the first half, clearly the Niners adjusted to that, and the Eagles never countered. They never countered the adjustments the Niners made at half, and it showed. Like the game completely changed. And I mean, it's a young coaching staff. Obviously you're working on that. You got young players, so that's stuff you can work on. But it's just, I was more upset because they had this game. They really could have won this game, and it just didn't work out for them.
Yeah, the shining light in all this, though, I will say is, I mean, even though we did lose Graham for the year, I think the defense is going to be strong all year. Like it's another week where they held a quarterback under 200 passing yards. The run defense improved drastically. I mean, not like the San Francisco Niners had any strong running backs who were taking the ball carries, but they stuffed them. I mean, their best runner was he had 17 attempts for 42 yards. That's a 2.5 yards per carry average. They were stuffing them.
No, I mean,
the sacks, they still are not getting the sacks that I'm imagining they would.
But it wasn't, they were getting any pressure at all. Like once that Graham went down, the pressure was gone because it was there. What I was seeing was what I saw the week one against Matt Ryan and that bad offensive line. But it worries me when Graham went down and there was a noticeable difference in the pass rush. No one was getting home. There was no one make any plays. And
the other thing, Derek Barnett doing his signature personal fouls. He's had 8 personal fouls in his career as an Eagle.
It's unacceptable. I mean, the other news that happened before the game was they signed Sweat to the extension, which I like. It continues with the trend of signing their homegrown guys at below market value too. I think.
And then Mailata have phenomenal contracts.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think they're going to continue to get better.
Yeah.
But I mean, their deals I think are plenty fair for them now, and I think they could be bargains in a couple of years if they keep developing. But signing Sweat and then seeing this immature nonsense from Barnett, like, where's the production? You've got all these personal fouls. Where's the production to go along with it?
I've been holding out on Barnett for a while. Like I was always on his more of the defense side that I think he's a solid player, but I'm not going to be upset if they let him walk.
Listen, he's going to get his opportunity. Now that Graham's out, it's going to be him and Sweat, and they already put their confidence in Sweat. Now Barnett just needs to convince them that he's worthwhile keeping. And these stupid penalties, this is a theme with him. Like this isn't a one-off. This is what I'm used to seeing when I see Derek Barnett out there, is these stupid penalties that he never gets smarter over.
Yeah, I mean that one was bad. The Kayvon Wallace one I had a lot of problems.
That was terrible.
That was
just awful. That was a bad call.
First of all, the penalty should have been on the ball carrier because he's not allowed to lower his head. Okay. Yeah. Second of all, Kayvon Wallace is how do you want a defender to make a tackle when he's getting so low that he's almost on the ground? Like he couldn't get his head any lower. It's not a personal foul. It's a personal foul on the ball carrier. He's not supposed to lower his head. The Eagles should have won the game regardless, but the refs did not help them at all. They were
I agree. Yeah, terrible. I wasn't too thrilled with that. That penalty in particular, I agree. I thought it was stupid. I mean, even more or less, I was like, because you see Harris hits him before he even makes contact with Wallace.
Yep.
And I was like, if anything, put the personal foul on Harris for putting his forearm into his head. Because it looked like that hit from Harris. Yeah, that's what I thought first. That looked like that hit from Harris injured Sermon, and he lost balance and bent over because he was clearly hurt. And if he doesn't fall over himself, which it looked like he did after he got hit by Harris, he would have never made head-to-head contact with Wallace because Wallace is plenty low. It's just Sermon lost balance and his head fell down. I thought that was a bad call. That was bad. I honestly, even though it went the Eagles' way, that second one where they had the late hit out of bounds with, I think it was Hurts, That seemed like it was a give me call. I mean, I'm happy they got it, but I was like, that seems a little touchy too. It looked like he's obviously takes that step out of bounds, but it also looked like he was going to make a move on the guy.
That was, I think that was more of a like, they've been calling everything. They can't not call that.
Oh, well, yeah. After you call the other one, you have to make that call. That was almost a makeup call.
I think I understand, like, as a defender, I would be annoyed, but like, I do understand, like, he was clearly, I don't think he was trying to do a hesitate. He was clearly slowing down and going out of bounds. I think it was fair. I mean, yeah, based on how they call penalties in the NFL, I'm not surprised. I think it was the right call, but I mean, if I was the defender, I'd be, annoyed because I'm, full motion. It's hard to stop on the dime.
Like I agree. Yeah. What if I lay off and this guy decides to take one of those steps,
or you lay off and you hurt yourself?
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was kind of like a touchy touch. That hurts because it easily cut it up and went at that guy. But I mean,
but that was that first. I mean, I like watching defensive games, and that's what this was. But the offense was very boring at times. I don't think they punted a whole lot, though. Like, I feel like they just didn't get the ball. Like, the Niners had the ball for so long.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, because they were just, towards the second half of the game, I thought the Niners were beating us in all aspects. That's where, when I noticed the pressure was gone, that's where they were converting the short downage. We would get in those 3rd and 4 and 1s. I think Jimmy Garoppolo had a quarterback sneak for 1 yard 3 different times, and we just couldn't stop it.
Yeah, like this. So I'm disappointed, but I wasn't upset about the loss. So, because I mean, when the schedule came out in the summer, I predicted the Niners to beat us. When we did our season predictions a couple weeks ago, I predicted the Niners to beat the Eagles. Like,
yeah, I would agree.
I flipped that because of the the hype. But
it was the hype from week 1. It was how dominant you were in week 1 made you think you could win this game. But yeah, going before Atlanta, I always thought we were going to lose this game. I thought the Niners were a good team. I thought this is a game they were probably going to win. But you get caught up in the hype.
Yeah, I would just finish on 3 positives to take away. Well, let's do 3 positives then, like a looking forward. So 3 positives. I thought that played the drive Jalen did to get us a touchdown right after the Niners scored was phenomenal.
Yeah, I like that.
Drove down the field in like 63 seconds.
That was impressive.
That was.
He looked.
Like, with no hesitation, he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and he's weird. He looks like he's running really slow, but it's actually a lot quicker than it looks.
Yeah, I would agree. I was happy with him, but it's the same criticism I was making for week 1. Is just kind of. It's hard to say because you know what it reminds me of is what I was watching against the Niners was. It reminded me of when Carson Wentz, when you're like, these guys just can't get open because he doesn't have any skill players around him. And then Wentz would hold on to the ball too long. No one can get open. And then Wentz would eventually make a mistake. And that's where the turnover would come. Hurts, I'll give him this. He never put the ball in harm's way. He, if it wasn't there, he was never making that dumb pass. He was running out of it. Or, there was 2 times where I think that, they got 2 sacks off us, but I thought it was more of there was just nothing there. And that's impressive. But, the next level is what we were kind of talking about after week 1, too, is, pushing the ball a little bit more and putting in those tight windows, maybe not missing guys when those, few opportunities do pop up. You got to hit them. And he did make some good plays. I was happy. And what I'm most happy about is he's not turning the ball over. After what I saw last year, he's not making dumb mistakes, which I can be grateful and very appreciative from him right now.
Yeah. So I would say I'm still. I do like him a lot. He has more positives than negatives. Absolutely.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
I am still a little worried about his arm strength as far like.
I would agree with that.
If you saw that one, the one like 50-yard throw, the one that Quez was perfect, but then he had another one that was like you could tell he put his entire body into it, and it still only went like 50 yards. And
remember he short-armed Zach Ertz the week before. Like these are some of the things that he'll work on, and he'll eventually grow into it because he's definitely got the strength. It's just a matter of like the form, I guess. But and that's where the special plays come from. That's the next step. Is he's being safe with the ball. He's making the plays that are there. It's just working on that velocity, working on fitting in the tight windows and being accurate and seeing it. I think will bring you those special plays that they're missing.
Yeah. So one, I thought Jalen's touchdown drive in the 4th quarter was phenomenal.
Loved it.
2, the fact that we had almost 10 minutes less time of possession than the Niners and had more yards is a positive. We had 25 minutes of time possession. Niners had 34 minutes, and we had like 30 more yards than them. 300. I mean, they're getting their rushing, which is great, and they're getting Jan's doing enough in the passing game. So they've had good balance the first 2 games. I hope that continues.
Yeah.
And then the third, like I mentioned previously, I'm very happy with the defense so far. I would like more sacks and definitely more turnovers. I don't think we have any turnovers yet.
No, that was one thing
But
I noticed, because the one thing with that game too is you got unlucky sometimes. The Niners made plays. The black field goal was a big play for them that changed a lot of that game. If any of those fumbles that you made that rolled out of bounds, that's something I make. Anthony Harris dropped a beautiful, like an interception in his hands.
I know, I was
furious. But that was where I was worried with the defense, and it, worried more with the lack of pressure after Graham got hurt. I need them to make plays. Your offense is struggling. You got a young quarterback, a young offense. Your defense is going to have to make some plays for you throughout the season. And I just, you teed off of Matt Ryan last week, but you still didn't turn over the ball that much. You didn't really give us anything exciting this week. There was missed tackles. Singleton worries me a lot. I did not think it was his best game.
Linebacker, I'm not happy with the linebacker.
Yeah,
I thought Eric Wilson played a little better, but I'm still not impressed. I thought he was going to do much more.
I agree. Yeah, that area I'm worried about. The secondary's impressed me, though. I mean,
I've been very happy with this.
Like you said, all in all, you held the Niners to 17 points.
Yeah, I was, giving the Eagles a hard time for one player having, a lot of receiving yards and the other players not. Same was the Niners had the same exact stat sheet. It was a Deebo Samuel or whatever had like 90 yards receiving, and then everyone else had 20. So, and Kittle was completely shut out. I was shocked. I thought the corners did really well.
Going off Kittle, though, you know what I wish I realized before I drafted him fantasy is that they're clearly using him more of as a blocker. It reminds me of that year with the Patriots won their last Super Bowl in New England with Brady. That year, Gronk was literally just blocking. They were going off of incredible defense and running the ball. And Kittle played that role, man. He was out there. He's blocking. He's versatile. Yeah, I mean, you hold him to 17. That's something you can live off of. The offense showed you enough to be, continue to be exciting after they put up 32 of the week one. It's going to come down to week 3. I'll forget this loss to the Niners if you beat the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be fair, if they beat the Niners and then they lost the Cowboys, I would have forgot the Niners win because I would have been upset about losing the Cowboys. So, it is what it is. It all comes down to week 3. You need week 3 because after that, it's going to get tough. You got the teams from the Super Bowl and then the Panthers who also look pretty good. And then 3 weeks after that.
I think this Cowboys-Eagles game is going to be very telling. Like, I think we'll learn a lot about the Eagles from this game because the Cowboys offensively are good, but their defense is definitely still an issue. I mean, they played decent against the Chargers, but I don't think they're going to do anything special. But yeah, I as long as, like, obviously I want them to win, but if I see, like, if it's an impressive game out of the Eagles, at least, if they do all the good things and still lose, like, at least there's some shining light in it all. But
yeah, I mean,
I don't want to see them get blown out.
No, I need to win.
The way the defense is played, I don't foresee that. So, and I'm excited to see how Slay does against some real receivers. So,
I mean, we'll see. The secondary is definitely going to be tested this week.
Which is good. I think they've been holding up so far. So, I mean, McLaurin's no slouch, and they shut him out. So, or not McLaurin. I'm stupid. That was Washington. What did we play week 1?
Atlanta.
Yeah. Calvin Ridley is I think he's a top 10 receiver, and they
but I mean, with Atlanta, I thought it was more our defensive line just ruining Matt Ryan's life every day because, man, that offensive line for Atlanta was terrible. And Matt Ryan
too.
Yeah, well, that's to say I saw a theme in that, but yeah, Brandon Graham is going to be a big miss. I'm really sad about that because, I was talking, after week 1, I was like, damn, Cox and Graham are still producing at such a high level. They are still
looks really good.
He does. But like I said, there was a noticeable drop off from everyone involved on the defense line when Graham went out. Now you're going to be testing that rotation now.
I think that's what it was. It just messed up the rotation. But I think we're going to see a lot more of Ryan Kerrigan. I think we're going to see who I forgot was on the team until
I did too. Yeah, he hasn't really done
last
anything.
Week. Well,
we'll see.
We're 2 games in.
Listen, Sweat's got his contract.
Yes, that'll be
Barnett
good.
is obviously on the last string. Graham actually getting hurt is probably the only reason he's going to get a chance to save his job. Because other than that, I mean, I think he pretty much nailed in the coffin was getting him, kicking himself off this team by doing these stupid penalties.
Yeah, but all right. Moving on to the rest of the league. So we'll do a quick hits throughout all the scores, and then if you have a sentence or two you want to say. But not spend too much time on them. So Thursday game, Giants lost to the Washington football team in classic Giant fashion.
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad.
Dropped
that
a touchdown. The Saints and Jameis Winston is exactly what I thought he was. Turned around his 5 touchdown game into a 2 interception game, no touchdowns. Lost to the Panthers.
You're a football Scrooge. I'm not going to kill the Saints over that loss. I'm going to give more credit to the Panthers. The Panthers showed up, and I was very impressed with them.
Yeah,
they have a good team, man. They can, if Sammy Darnold can be what everyone thought he was going to be before the Jets ruined them. They have a solid defense. I like Burns. I like Chin. I like Derek Brown. Don't sleep on the Panthers now.
Fair enough. Nail biter. We had the Bears beating the Bengals.
Justin Fields got to make an appearance.
Yeah, so that was last Sunday. We had the quarterback plague. For some reason, half the league lost quarterbacks. So we had Carson Wentz had injuries to both his ankles. He sprained both his ankles somehow. I don't know how you do that.
Nothing. You know what? I don't know if you watched that game. I have a couple thoughts in the game. I'll wait a little bit, but Carson Wentz hasn't changed. He's exactly the same person he was with Philadelphia. He's just reckless. You know what? He treats every play like. You wonder why this guy gets hurt, but man, he treats every play like it's like that Washington play he made the year of the Super Bowl. Like he's just going to break out of 3 tackles every single time. And this is why he gets hurt, because he never gives up on a play. And no, that's good. We all love your spunk and everything. But usually with you, Carson, when you fight for that extra couple seconds in a play, you either get hurt or you then turn the ball over. And you're very good at both of them. And man, I'm like, he never left. He does the frontward slide all the time.
I was gonna say, all things considered, he's actually played solid. He hasn't lost them the games to my knowledge.
But you know what? A lot of the bad trends he was doing here, the forward slides, the never say die play, even when it's dead, those lead to bad things. I've seen it with my own eyes.
I mean, there's other quarterbacks who do that too, but they're just a little faster than him, so they can get away.
And not as fragile.
Yeah. But yeah, so he got hurt.
Sprained both ankles. It's ridiculous. I don't even know how you do that.
Yeah, Andy Dalton was in and out with injuries. So Justin Fields, who didn't look, he looked okay. He wasn't terrible.
Won the game. They won the game.
Yeah. Baker Mayfield was out for a little bit, came back. Derek Carr was out for a hot sec. He came back. Trying to think who else. Tyrod Taylor was out. I think he returned after a while.
He's supposed to miss this game though.
A lot of weird injuries.
Yeah, it's the early season. So, what game caught your eye? What was because there was a couple close ones that caught my eye. Obviously, to mention the Rams and Colts game was very good. Wentz did play for in his minutes. I said, the issues that he has. Stafford still looks great. But the Rams look like a legit powerhouse.
Oh yeah.
They are back. You know what? I'm not surprised that they're good. I'm surprised how quickly it's taking Matt Stafford to pick up this offense. Because even when we saw Tom Brady play on Bruce Arians' offense, they eventually went on to win the Super Bowl and he played great. Mm-hmm. But it took him a couple weeks to figure it out. Matt Stafford looks like he's been playing in this offense for the last decade.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think. The Bills. I know. Tua, another guy who got hurt. He had bruised ribs. But for the Bills to just come out and smack the shit out of them, 35-0. That was kind of surprising.
Oh, that was a redemption, game. Yeah, there was 2 teams that needed to beat up on one of their crappy division rivals to make up for their horrific Week 1 performance, and the Bills were one of those teams. And I think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers were the other one, and they both went out and smacked one of the division rivals they enjoy smacking.
Oh, Packers had a little bit of trouble for a bit, but
yeah, I watched that whole game. The Lions were playing well in the beginning. Goff was making plays. Quintez Cephas played really well. I think he's a rookie or a young guy, but eventually, the Packers just kept scoring and the Lions were hanging with them. Eventually that wasn't going to work out. And Aaron Rodgers started eating that defense. Jared Goff started making the mistakes you expect from Jared Goff. And ultimately they hung in a little bit. They reminded me of the Falcons and the Buccaneers. The Falcons hung in with them a little bit till it was close, but you never at one point ever thought that either of those teams were going to lose.
Yeah. There were just to rip through a handful of really solid games. Obviously the Monday night the Sunday night game, Chiefs Ravens was really good. Titans coming back against the Seahawks was good.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite game.
Vikings Cardinals had a hell of a game that went down to a missed field goal by a Vikings kicker, which is like deja vu for them. So
brutal. The guy made a 52-yard field goal during the game. You're in a dome, and then what was it, 39, 43? I forget off the top of my head. Like, dude, easy. Come on. You can't miss that. And you know what's even funnier? Matt Prater kicked a 62-yard field goal right before half in that game and drilled it. You're going to just get outclassed by the other kicker like that?
Yep.
You know, have some kicker on kicker pride. You got to look at the cross sideline and be like, this guy just booted one from 62 yards away. I can at least make one on 43 yards away to win the game. But no, pathetic. Yeah. The Vikings are, you know what? The Vikings might be my favorite team to watch, even though I have no expectations for them to be good this year. Their offense is elite and exciting. The defense is weird. I feel like they have 3 really good players, and the rest of them all stink. Like Daniel Hunter had 3 sacks. Harrison Smith makes plays. Kendricks had a couple big plays. But outside that, man, their defense stinks. They gave up a lot of points in week 1. I think it was to the Bengals, if I'm correct.
Pat Peterson, the cornerback.
Yeah, you know what? Veteran corners just go to Minnesota to die, or at least die or not. You know, Xavier Rhodes fell off there, and now Patch Peterson can't find it. Yeah. Their defense is struggling, man, but they're so fun to watch because you get games like this past Sunday where it's the highest scoring shootout, and they usually end up losing in some brutal fashion.
Yeah, but I mean the rest of the league. So Texans, I'll give them credit. I mean they were beating the Browns at one point in this game. I thought the Texans were going to be really bad this year, and they fought in both games so far. They won the first one, but the Browns won.
Yeah, but I mean, did you see the coach refusing to go for it? And he's like, "Oh no, I'm happy with punting. That's what I want to do here."
On third down.
Yeah, it's. I feel bad for this guy. Like he's an older coach.
Was it? Oh no, it was third. It was like third and 5 or something, and they declined a penalty to make it 3rd and 10, and then so it became like 4th and 5, and they just punted.
Yeah, and you figured out, they must be declining the penalty because they just want to be closer, you know, and go for it on 4th down.
Nope.
No, we just would rather just to punt. You know, the best player on our team is the punter, trying to get him out there. I feel bad for that guy. Like David Coley's an older coach who was going to a horrific situation. He's never been a coordinator, and we kind of all knew that he was going to fail miserably at this job just because he's been set up to fail. And you know what? He's really not doing much to convince us otherwise. You know,
True.
We all knew he was going to fail just being Houston and the dumpster fire that they are. But dude, given the opportunity between punting and going for it in a league where you want to score points to win the game, you're not helping yourself here.
Yeah. Rest of the league, like we mentioned, Rams beat the Colts. The Broncos are 2-0. They beat the Jaguars, and Trevor Lawrence does not look good through 2 games so far, throwing interception after interception.
Yeah, that's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Can't forget that they were a bad team last year.
Speaking of interceptions, the Jets rookie quarterback threw 4 of them. Patriots beat them.
R.I.P. You feel bad going against Belichick like that. It's a shame. It'll never work out for you.
Niners beat the Eagles. Raiders beat the Steelers. I'm impressed. Raiders look nice.
I was you know what? Because I was out in Pittsburgh this weekend, so it was a lot of Steelers TV. Surprisingly, a lot of Raiders fan made the trip to Pittsburgh for the game. They really traveled.
Yeah.
You know who did surprise me? Man, there must have been half freaking Niners fan in the link on Sunday. There was a lot of red jerseys in that. Just watching the game, everything, I thought there was a lot of Niners fan. But the Raiders look good. I was impressed. Their defense is exceeding all expectations for what I take for them. Like
their D-line gets after it.
Max Crosby's a hell of a player. Yannick Ngakoue was a big pickup.
Ngakoue,
that's what I was thinking about. 2 different names in my head. And you know what? Listen, Waller's been the beast that he is. Cars look very good.
Yep.
Henry Ruggs gives them that deep element. He had a big touchdown this year. And
they didn't even have Josh Jacobs, and they still won.
No, the offensive line held up for them, too. We criticized them because they gave away their whole offensive line, but they still played very well. I was extremely impressed, especially against one of the better front sevens in the league. I know TJ Watt got hurt, but listen, there's still plenty of players in that defense to make plays.
Yeah. And then the Buccaneers smacked the Falcons. Tom Brady has 9 touchdowns through 2 games. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that was he put on an absolute clinic.
Cowboys beat the Chargers by a field goal. I think it was like a last second field goal too.
Yeah.
Titans beat the Seahawks in overtime, which is a great comeback for them. And then,
by far my favorite game. That was the best game this week.
It was a good game. Ravens beat the Chiefs in a thriller.
Also,
I might have liked that game better, honestly. That
Titans game was entertaining.
And then the Packers struggled a little bit with the Lions, and then they pulled away at the end, so they beat them. And that is week 2. Speaking of pulling away, actually, it has nothing to do with pulling away. But who are your duds for the week?
Oh, you want to go to the negative right away?
Of course, we have to. Then you bring it in positive, All
right, fair enough.
Going from good to bad,
You're right. All righty. Now let me pull my list up here. So we'll start with the duds.
Mm-hmm.
So this one,
I think who would even be on it? I don't
know. I think you might be surprised by this, but you know what? There is my first one. Let's put it this way: I'll give my third dud of this week was completely expected. I could have probably predicted it going into this Sunday. The other two duds gave me if either of them played for the Eagles and did this to me, I would drop kick my TV on the freaking spot. Mm-hmm. And they were just so despicable and unacceptable that in a rare bounce, usually I look at the whole game. I mean, neither of them had a great game, but my first two duds definitely comes down to one specific moment for each of them that, if you were rooting for that team, you were in pain watching it. And I was just picturing myself as an Eagles fan having to visualize that. And I couldn't help but being extremely angry. And I knew that those were deserving of duds. So let's go get to the easy one here. This one, I mean, listen, there's certain numbers that just pop off your head and it just immediately puts you in the duds list. When I see 4 interceptions, that catches my eye. But to be fair, when I knew that the Jets were going to play the Patriots, and not only is Bill Belichick 34-11 against the Jets in his career with the Patriots, I think he won the last 8 matchups with them. Also, Belichick's also 22-6 against rookie quarterbacks. So going into this matchup, I could have probably told you this was going to end really bad for Zach Wilson. And geez, man, it looked really bad. He looked like, he had his welcome to the NFL moment. And this was one before the season started, I could have highlighted and be like, this is going to be a rough go for Zach Wilson. He's not going to be very seasoned in an NFL offense. He's not going to see anything that Belichick's about to throw at him. And it looked like that. A couple of the interceptions were tough. There was like some tip balls, tough, but Belichick plays it so well. You think he's coaching for tip balls. Mm-hmm. There was one brutal one, man. The last one to McCourty. Oh my God. It looked like he jumped, wasn't even standing on both feet, flung the ball like 15 yards past the guy he was trying to throw to. Devin McCourty didn't even move. It was like a punt. It just landed in his arms. So yeah, Zach Wilson, a very welcome to the NFL moment, just got embarrassed, just like a lot of rookie quarterbacks and a lot of quarterbacks that the Jets have thrown out in the last 2 decades. Belichick has continued that trend of embarrassing not only the Jets, but rookie quarterbacks, and he did it in great fashion as they went on to beat them as Zach Wilson threw for 4 interceptions.
Did you see his press conference after the game? One of the reporters asked him if he was seeing ghosts. Do you remember? Remember when Sam Darnold was a rookie and he got smacked by the Patriots? And he said he was seeing ghosts on the field.
On that hot mic, the Halloween game. That was tough. That was another moment where I could have probably predicted that's going to end really bad for Sam Darnold, and it did. It did not go well. So that was definitely a deserving dud. But Belichick does that to a lot of people.
What we got next?
So my second guy. Again, there's going to be a theme with my first dud and my second dud. Their mistakes come down to one glaring issue. Although this guy hardly had a great game. His team, managed to put up 35 points in a losing effort. Mm-hmm. And as the starting running back, you would think you would contribute a little bit more than 13 carries for 46 yards and 0 touchdowns to go along with a 3.5 average. If your team's putting up 35 points, you would assume that you would have helped in some way, but you really didn't. You were irrelevant. Completely irrelevant for the entire game. Until that one moment came where they're not really asking you to do anything special. I really don't think his coach wanted him to gain any yards or, get a first down. Yeah, sure. Maybe, of course. But you know what you couldn't do with 1 minute and 20 seconds left when the opposing team has 1 timeout left and you're about to kick the game winning field goal where you're actually in the game kick, you're in field goal range for the game winning field goal. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is just receive the handoff, fall down so the Ravens call their last timeout on second and third, and then they're going to let the time trickle down and maybe they do it again, or maybe they just kick the field goal and win. But see, for Clyde Edwards-Helaire,
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
For Clyde Edwards-Helaire, not only are we not asking you to gain yards, get a first down, all we're asking for to do is just don't fumble the ball. And what do? You fumble the ball. And guess what? The Ravens went up to scoop the ball and you lost. And you were going to win. You were in the realm of winning right there if you do nothing else but just hold on to the ball. And you lost. So that was pretty brutal. That deserved a second dud. But you know what? I'll give Clyde Edwards-Helaire a chance. He's a second dud because when he makes his mistake, when he fumbles the ball there, the Chiefs still have a chance of winning. The Ravens have to, march the field, get a field gun. They have to get a first down or give the ball back to the best quarterback currently, and Patrick Mahomes. Which, you know what? With a couple timeouts, you're thinking, all right, you still have a chance. You just need the defense to make the stop. But ultimately, that didn't happen. But for my first stud, man, he also had a brutal, I would have drop kicked my TV if he was an Eagle and did this to me. But see, when he made his mistake, there was no redemption. There was no hope for anything better. He lost the game as soon as he made a mistake, a game that he had won. The game was over. 0 seconds went on the clock. The ball sailed right, and the football team missed the field goal. The Giants had won the game. They had more points next to their logo with 0-0 on the clock. But wait, who was that? Lined up right in front of the football, may I add, on the inside. This wasn't one of the outside guys. Who was that right in front of the football, 6 inches away from it, to see whether it's snap or not, jumping off sides to give the Washington football team one more chance to then kick the football, kick the field goal that causes you to lose the game. So Dexter Lawrence, while Clyde Edwards-Helaire had his team had a chance to save his ass, you screwed your team. There was no saving anyone's ass. There was no chance to save anyone's ass because in a nationally TV game against your division rival, in a season where people are already questionable about you, but then you do stuff like this to then realize that the Giants really are the embarrassment that we all think they are. Yeah. You cost your team the game. You let the kicker who just missed it and saved your Giants get an easier kick at it, 5 yards ahead of where it was, and you lost the game. Unexcusable. That is so unacceptable. How do you jump off sides when the ball's in front of your face? You are a bum, Dexter Lawrence. If you were on the Eagles, I guarantee you this entire city would have been begging for your ass to be cut, and I would have one destroyed TV in my house. But hey, it's the Giants, and it made me laugh. But that was, I know it felt like so long ago because it's Thursday night, and now we're doing this after all the other games. But that was one that sizzled in my head. I put them down for a dud immediately, and some people came close. Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Zach Wilson made triumphs, but it was tough to overcome that horrible performance by Dexter Lawrence. So, Dexter Lawrence, you've deserved this. That was horrific. But moving on to the good stuff. So I will say, I don't know. Clearly our podcast is watched by many NFL players because all my duds from last week just went and balled the fuck out this week.
Of course. So
my first stud this week, he was a guy, man. If you watch that game in a high scoring game, it was I believe 32 to 28, 27-24. I apologize. It's the final score.
Okay.
That offense ran through my guy here. He was the offense. No one else was really putting up the big numbers that my guy was doing. Mm-hmm. To have 163 receiving yards, 9 receptions, 2 touchdowns. Your next close receiver had 64 receiving yards. You didn't have a running back go over 55 rushing yards. Mm-hmm. And you were everything. You were every touchdown pass. You were, he watching that game, made every big play, made the conversions, and was, when they needed someone to step up, he was the guy that came up every time over and over watching the game. A guy, man, who's always been a solid, underrated player, I would say, but I think the quarterback change. Now I know apparently my boy Matthew Stafford eats his breakfast every single morning and has been since he's got to the Rams with my boy Cooper Kupp, who is my third starter this week.
He's been looking good.
Dude, man, he's good. I always liked Kupp before Stafford got there, but I feel like he was always underrated. He looks great so far. $163, 9 receptions, 2 touchdowns. I tell you, watching that game, whenever they needed to play, it was always Cooper Kupp. Without even thinking, it was always Cooper Kupp. He outshined everyone on that offense. He was the engine that entire game. Really impressive performance by him.
Yeah, I'll admit I was never the biggest Cooper Kupp believer, but he's having a hell of a season so far. So,
he was a possession guy, I always thought beforehand. But now, now with Stafford at the helm, the guy makes plays, and I was extremely impressed because he was helping the whole offense. No one really shined on that offense besides him. And you still managed to put up 27 points against a good Colts team and win. That's huge.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So my next guy, second stud, and he deserves a second stud because I think he was part of the biggest win this entire week of football. Okay. And you know what? He did it against, he had to come up and play. This was a big game, and he knew it was going to be a big game. This was going to be a shootout, and it turned out to be a shootout, 36-35. You're considering he went snap for snap, play for play, down for down, point for point, drive for drive, with arguably the best quarterback out in the game right now. And he did it playing his game. That's what I was most impressed with. Everyone gets on this guy because, he's a little limited or he hasn't as far along as you'd like as a passer.
Sure.
But he played his game, and he did it so well that he ended up putting 36 points up and beating the team that has had his number since he's been in the league and one of the best teams in football. He put up 100 yards rushing. He made the passes that were necessary. I thought his final drive of the half was actually the best thing I saw all game. He had a big rush for like 14 yards for first down. There wasn't much time left, less than a minute in the half. Didn't have the timeouts, makes the big run. He made every throw he needed to and drove his team in field goal range for them to kick it with just a few seconds left before a half. And that was a pressing showing because he did it during his game. He was mobile. He passed when he needed to, and he made the plays he needed to. And then when your team needs a play, when you're like, you know what, I got such an elite offensive cross on me, they've made a mistake. We have the ball. We're not giving this back to him. He went, put his nose down, and got the fourth down conversion. No hesitation. His coach had the big balls, put the confidence in him, and Lamar Jackson went and produced for him, made him look like a genius. The guy had a hell of a game. I was extremely impressed. He had the 2 interceptions at the beginning. One was a pick 6. Mm-hmm. They weren't great. The one was an overthrow to Matthew for the touchdown, which was bad. And then the other one was a deep ball and a triple coverage that should have never left his hands. Yep. But he settled in, and he played a great game. He played his game, had over 100 yards rushing. I think he had 200 and something passing yards. He had a passing touchdown. He didn't need to sling the ball like Patrick Mahomes does to beat him. He played his game with a team that has had many injuries, lost a heartbreaker on Monday Night Football the week before, needed this game, and he shut up big. Yeah. And he looked amazing. 16 carries, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns to go along with the touchdown and the passing yards. Very impressed with him. By far the biggest win of the week. Deserved everything he accomplished. You know what I was thinking? Because we were talking about this last week. Baker Mahomes Baker Mayfield was in the same exact position that Lamar Jackson was in. He had that final drive to step on the Chiefs' throat and win. And I remember talking to my sister, and I mentioned this to you. This is a $100 million drive for Baker. Because, this is, if he beats Patrick Mahomes, even though it's week 1, if he drives the field and beats Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, this is something his agent brings up for the contract negotiations. Oh, yeah. Well, he didn't. Lamar Jackson, he did it. This is something he's going to bring up in contract negotiations in the offseason. He's going to deserve it. Very impressive win. I'll say, yeah,
he did. It was he had a good rebound, but I am a little worried. I mean, he had 2 fumbles like in the first game against the Raiders. He had 2 interceptions this game. Like, he's got to clean up his game.
He does, and you know what? I think
the only reason he can get away with it is because of how fast he is and how many plays he can make with his feet. But that'll catch up on you eventually if you do that. If you have 2 turnovers every single game, it's going to catch up.
I agree with you, and he made them corrections. The first 2 turnovers came in the very beginning of the game. After them, he was locked in and ready to go. Yeah, you're right. No one wants to throw 2 interceptions, but after that, he was locked in, and after that, he was the best player on that field. Yeah. And he did it playing his game, man. Everyone wants him to throw the ball deep and sling it like Mahomes. He just beat Mahomes playing his game. He was a big player. He made big plays constantly, and on the ground was where he makes those plays. Lamar Jackson's an elite player in the running department. Play to his strengths. He doesn't need to swing it like Patrick Mahomes to win those games. And the defense gave 35 points to the Chiefs. I think you could expect the Chiefs to score 35 points any game, but it's hard to win games where your defense gives up 35 points, and he still managed to do that. So I was extremely impressed with his performance. But there was one performance that was a little bit better. Oh. And since I know that he's a devout listener to the show now, I'm going to say right now, I won't even pander and wait because I know Dakota's waiting for it. I know Derrick Henry's listening, and he's waiting for it too. I'm sorry, Derrick Henry. I should have never put your name near my dud list. I don't care what the reason was for. I don't care what I was saying. I immediately correct myself. I apologize. Because my man went for 182 rushing yards, 55 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns. And you know what I said Cooper Kupp was the offense? Derrick Henry was the offense for the Titans. That offensive line was getting let and Tannehill get destroyed. And my man came out there, just made big play after big play after big play. I said it last week. I was like, you know what? You're a top 10 player in the league. You're the best player on your team. You can't get blown out. You need to make a play. You need to step up. Well, he listened to all that, put it on recording, and just bashed his head into the wall, I think, all week listening to my voice. Because he came out like a mean man. And he made me eat all my words. Because I'll tell you right now, in a 33 to 30 point game where they needed every yard, every point, every touchdown that man scored, oh, man, they needed all of it. And he gave them everything and more. Incredible performance. Truly, this is one of the elite Derrick Henry performance. Not elite performance, but you got to measure Derrick Henry to Derrick Henry. And it was incredible. He did the classic Derrick Henry, got better as the game went on, was wearing down. And, man, he was a problem. He was getting stopped at the line. He was, he had guys coming up on him, and he was breaking tackles at the line and then sprinting for 14 more yards and picking up first downs. And he answered everything that the Seahawks were throwing at them offensively. And man, it was impressive. It was a very impressive performance.
Yeah, we'll have to get him on the show so he can talk about the studs.
I'll apologize to him. I know Chandler Jones exposed you for your horrific rating of him last week. But
oh my God,
Derrick Henry just said, "I am never a dud. I don't care what I do. I'm Derrick Henry." And listen, bro, I got you. Just for shutting me up, which is a task in itself. You had to be number one stud. So that's what this number one stud is this week.
Fair enough. I like it. We have a new segment. Ooh. My segment. So it'll be coming after our studs and duds. So it's a lot shorter, not as in depth as the studs and duds, but still a little fun.
Fair enough.
And I like to call it Too Much Whiz.
Too much whiz.
Too much whiz. So
I'm just going to specify that I don't know anything about this. You have free reign. So if this is a disaster, no one blame me. I didn't approve this. So too much whiz. Tell me.
Too much whiz. So three takeaways from the weekend of football, and we have to evaluate if it's an overreaction, too much whiz, or if it's a good reaction, like it's trending in the upwards direction. So
all right.
So let's start off with the first one.
Okay.
Too much whiz. What do you think? Derek Carr is in the running for MVP so far through 2 games.
You know what?
There's no hesitation. So you're thinking about it.
I know.
He's played really well.
Yeah, and I've been a big hater on Derek Carr for a while, and he had a big game. I'll say it's not too much whiz. It's not.
Okay.
You know what? He had 2 big wins. He beat 2 powerhouses in the AFC. He's done everything you could possibly ask from through 2 games so far. 2-0. He's got 4 touchdowns already, 800 yards. He's got 1 pick, which isn't bad. And he's winning games. He's not hurting the team. He's making plays. And I don't know if I'm going to be saying that later on. And he's definitely not my front run. I think my most impressive MVP candidate right now is Kyler Murray. But for Derek Carr, I will say not too much whiz. For what he's done so far, he's impressed me. He's earning the respect he deserves. I'll put him in the conversation right now.
Okay. Our second point, too much whiz. The Buccaneers will go undefeated. They put up almost 50 points against the Falcons, and Tom Brady's got 9 touchdowns already.
Yeah, too much whiz. I'm saying that's a little too much. Going undefeated is extremely difficult, especially as a defending Super Bowl champ. I know they did smack the Falcons, but the Falcons still gave them a little bit in the first half. They were out there making plays. I think they put up like 28 points, I think, in a losing effort. So it's the fact that they're going to get the best every single week from everyone. One of these teams is going to knock them out. So I'm going to say too much whiz. I also think they're not a team too worried about being undefeated. I think they have their eye on the Super Bowl again, and they look really good. Yeah.
I mean, I was going to say we don't have too many teams that are undefeated still, which is kind of wild. So
yeah. It's just, to do it as a defending champ when everyone's coming for you, that would just be. But they look, man, I'll give them that. They look really, really good. Brady looks incredible. If anything, I thought the Falcons scoring enough points to make it interesting was that. Wow, I'm just seeing Brady just keep the pedal on the metal, and he's just putting on a clinic. Like, he's not missing passes, 5 touchdowns. Like, he had to drive the field all those 5 times for his touchdowns, but he made it look really easy doing it. And good luck to other teams.
Okay. All right, and the last one we got, too much whiz. The Panthers are a legit playoff threat.
I I'm saying yes. I mean, obviously, I mentioned this already to you that I think you were given the.
So not too much whiz. Is that what you
No,
mean?
no, not too much whiz. I like the Panthers. I thought, you know what? I liked what the Panthers were doing. They had pieces. Obviously, Darnold was the worry, but I mean, not worry, but uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, he's looked good. I like what Matt Rule's doing. I mean, they keep this up. Joe Brady's going to be a head coach somewhere next year. Yeah, if he revitalizes Darnold's
he
career,
was even there.
Yeah, I know. I mean, listen, ever since Tepper took over the team as the owner, they've done a great job. I like the coach hire. I like the coordinators hire.
I like their defense.
They're drafting very well. That defense is a lot of young players on it. Burns is, I think, is a stud in the making.
Having a great season so far.
Oh yeah, I like Brown, who they drafted high in the first round. I like Chin. They have good weapons. McCaffrey's obviously stud. That team's on the up and up. They're a little ahead of where I thought they would be. I didn't know if they would be a playoff team this year, but now I honestly think they're a playoff contender just from what I've seen through 2 weeks so far.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so that'll be our too much whiz. Three topics that stuck out that need to determine, is it an overreaction or not? Is it too much whiz or just enough?
I'm for it. Now, I had before we get into picks,
power rankings.
I wanted to ask you something, get your personal opinion on it. And I'll tell you my opinion on this because this has been the talk of week 2. I think from what I've heard in some games. Obviously, we knew this was going to come up at some point in the season, but it seems like week 2 we saw more of it. The taunting rule.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts on it because I have my personal opinion. Yeah,
it sucks. That's it. There's no it's not. They're way too. They just let them do what they want. Like if they're not harming anyone, as long as it doesn't go on for 10, 15 seconds. If it's like quick little, whatever. But yeah, so far it's been nobody. Even I saw on Twitter people were throwing fire and was it throwing gas into the fire. How much they hated the new rule. So I
think everyone expected to hate it as soon as we heard it announced. I will say this, and I saw it develop really well in seeing why the NFL wants to do this and what they're trying to do. And then I saw that actually be called in this game, and I was like, this is terrible. In the Seahawks and Titan game, which I said was probably my favorite from this weekend, this was a very physical, there was a physical, emotional, this was a highly contested, highly competitive game between two good teams. I mean, it was 33-30 that went into overtime and everything. And, you saw aggressive play throughout, but I never thought it went over the line. And I never thought the refs didn't have control of the game or things were getting out of hand. And mind you, this was in a game where there was 4 personal foul calls. There was a roughing the kicker penalty on I think it was Seattle on the Titans punter, which was totally deserved. The guy hit him late. There was personal fouls on roughing the passer with Kindichi to Tannehill, where he just blew him up after the whistle, which was deserved as well. And then the Jamal Adams hit on Tannehill, where he hit him a little high and late, which was also deserved. And then Brooks, linebacker for Seattle, hit a guy late out of bounds, which I thought was also deserved. And there were big hits throughout this game, highly competitive. But this is what I love about football. It's a violent, competitive fight wrapped up into 60 minutes of competition. And that's what I love about this. This was my favorite game because I could see the emotion, see the interest. I could literally see it. I could feel it off both teams. And I saw from the first whistle, I saw from the physical play, but the refs were under control. They made the correct calls on some dirty hits or late hits or bad penalties. But then there was a play. It was 2 players. It was, I believe, the Seahawks wide receiver was running down the field for deep ball. Titans guy made a stop. Could possibly be pass interference. I thought it was a good no call, but the cornerback said something to the wide receiver while I was down, and they threw the taunting penalty.
Yeah.
And man, that was brutal. It's 15 yards. You just had a huge stop, a huge momentum swing in a high-scoring game. And I could see, I guess, what the thinking is with the NFL. I hate the rule first. I'm going to say that now, but I see what they're trying to do is in a highly competitive game like this, where it's physical, where it's aggressive, where they're competing, and there are already a couple personal fouls. You're trying to rein it in to calm everyone down a little bit more, just as an extra enforcement. But I think it's too biased. I think you're picking and choosing in certain moments. And I think if you were in a game and did the exact same thing, a game that wasn't as close or as competitive or as physical as that game was, you probably don't make that call. If the team's down by 21 points and then they make that, I doubt they make that taunting call. And I hate that they're, I think, over enforcing. And I think that that's more a pick and choose kind of thing because it's all about scenario mostly. It was like I got to feel that they were worried that this game would get ugly or get out of hand. So they wanted to use the taunting penalty as a way of silencing the one guy who makes the play, but also give a warning to the team that there is no more of this. And I hate it. Like was the best part of the game.
Yeah.
I love that intensity.
Yeah, we'll see how it develops, but it's not looking good so far.
It's just, I mean, in that one play, I could see it used. I was a bad call, I think, and it was also in the perfect moment where I see why the NFL wants to do this. And I just, again, I think they enforced the game fine. Like, no, there isn't really that many fights. It's not anything getting out of control. A rough hit on the passer out of bounds, you can live with that. Some of that is just playing hard to the whistle in a competitive game. But I didn't think anyone was out there hurting each other. And, I just think they're over enforcing this with the taunting rule.
Classic NFL referees over enforcing.
I know, man. I just hope it goes away. I really hope it goes away because that was my favorite game and I hated the call. The call when it happened.
All right. Speaking of hard hitters, we got our top 10 power rankings making its return.
Love it.
We did our power rankings. We just didn't announce it on the podcast episode last week because we were stupid, but we got it this time.
Things happen. We get better.
Starting at number 10, we have the Packers remaining at 10. The reason that they were on 10 last week is even though they lost is because we expect them to be a top 10 team by the end of the year. So, week one, the first 4 weeks are always kind of a toss up. Teams are still figuring out their way, whatever. So, but we have Packers at 10. Then we have the Seahawks drop back from 5 to number 9. Still a good team, but they had that game. Browns move up 1 spot to number 8. Ravens hop into the top 10 with a 1-1 record, but they've played like they could be 2-0. They've also played like they could be 0-2, but they've played really well. I think even with all the turnovers and all the injuries to running back. So
it's a big win this week too. That was everything. It could be arguably the biggest win of the season so far.
I would say Harbaugh is coach of the year through 2 games. It's obviously very early, but he's doing a good job. Then we have the Raiders moving up. Weren't even in the top 10 last week. 2-0.
Yeah. I'm very surprised.
Like we said, hey, not too much whiz on Derek Carr having a really good MVP caliber season so far. I mean, he's done this before where he's looked good and then he's fallen off. So no, I'm not trying to say that they're gonna give the Chiefs a run for their money on the division, but
hey, I mean, they play well. This is a team that they've earned our respect. Like you said, we didn't have in the power rankings last week, even after they beat the Steelers, or I'm sorry, not the Steelers, the Ravens. And then even this week we were doing it. And then we weren't even talking about them. And then we kind of got to the list and we're like, oh wait, we're definitely gonna have to include the Raiders here,
Yeah.
And it's weird. I mean, now they've caught my attention. Now I'm paying attention. So I don't know who they play this week, but I mean, they've earned it. I mean, well, hats off to them.
They might be 3-0 looking at who they play. So we have them in 6th. Then the Bills moved up from 8 to 5 after a thrashing of the Dolphins.
Yeah, that was a get-right game.
Cardinals, another strong showing. The offense is really coming to its own. They move up from 7 to number 4.
Yeah, I really like the Cardinals a lot. I liked them going into the season. Kyler's my MVP right now. The only criticism I guess I'd give him, even though he looks explosive and he's been scoring touchdowns, like I said the same thing with Deshaun Watson as he was coming up. Is he's so good, but I think he holds on to the ball too long, trying to make those big plays. And that's something to learn with.
Every mobile quarterback does, though.
Yeah, and that's it's the balance between you're awesome, you can make those plays, but there are sometimes you got to understand when it's not there. And I mean, I think that came down to Daniel Hunter had 3 sacks, and I think a couple of them were Kyler should have just got rid of the ball. But very impressive team so far.
Yeah. Chiefs moved back from number 2 to number 3. I mean, they still had a great game. Like you said, they were on the verge of winning until Edwards-Helaire fumbled.
Yeah, he doesn't fumble that.
It was a forced fumble. Someone came around and punched it out. It's not like he just dropped it. But
hell of a play by Jason Alwa. And I was like, what? Yeah, I was going to say, I always love, because obviously we get big into the draft and we've already done our draft episodes. It's nice in the first couple of weeks to see these guys we've been talking about, dissecting about, Jason Alwa was that name. And I liked him when he got picked out of the Ravens, and he had made a hell of a play.
Yeah. And then we have the Rams are just been dominant on both sides of the ball. They move up from number 3 to number 2.
Yeah.
And then the reigning champs are still number 1.
They're in peak form. Yeah, they're in great form. They all look great, but who's looked really good, and he looks like he's in peak form? A Gronk, man. Gronk looks like Gronk from Gronk. He looks like the old school Gronk. Last year he wasn't asked to do much. He was first year back. There's so many weapons on that team. This year, he's taking more of that step. He's Brady's go-to, especially in the end zone. And man, he looks good.
I will say we get obviously the Eagles on TV because we're in the Philadelphia area. I've seen more of Gronk and Brady on TV through commercials than I have of their actual games so far. Like they're all over. I will say I don't like Subway. I think their food sucks. But their commercials are pretty good. I will give them credit. The fact that they have Tom Brady sponsoring a sandwich when the sandwich store, even though he doesn't eat bread, is fucking hilarious. Like I love it. But
it is, yeah, he is pretty much all over. It reminds you of when Mahomes was all over everything last year. It's like the advantage of winning the Super Bowl.
All right. Moving into our final segment of our episode is our weekly picks. Sadly, Tim has got the leg up on me somehow. I don't know what's going on with my picks.
Love
They're
it.
not doing great.
The good guys get one.
I'm still positive, but so heading into the week, Tim is 19-13, and I am 17-15. So look at that. I ran away with it last year, but you're
hey, new year, new things.
Fair enough. So starting off, first games we have this Thursday, Panthers at the Texans, and I think the Panthers are going to end up being 3-0.
I do as well. Tyrod Taylor's hurt. I don't think he's going to play.
Yeah.
I don't know who the backup is. I guess it's Watson, even though he's not active and won't play. So who knows? But yeah, I'm going to go Panthers as well.
Okay. Then we have first Sunday game, Chiefs at the Chargers, Chargers at the Chiefs. I think Chiefs need a bounce back, and Chargers aren't quite there to keep up with the Chiefs on offense. So
yeah, the Chargers kind of disappointed me so far. They look like they're still lacking, but yeah, the Chiefs aren't going to lose 2 in a row. I don't see that happening.
Next game we have Cardinals take on the Jaguars. Is Trevor Lawrence going to get his first win, or are the Jaguars going to keep rolling?
No. After I've already gassed up the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, I'm not going to go and pick the Jaguars to beat them.
Yeah, I'm taking the Cardinals as well. Then we have Bears and the Browns. I had a mini stroke trying to read 2 B's. I'm going to go Browns here. The Bears are another, they always have weird starts to their year, but they don't. Their defense is looking better, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear the news. I don't know if you've heard anything coming out about Dalton and whether he's going to play or Fields.
No.
But I still feel confident about the Browns. They've looked solid through the first 2 weeks. This is a game they should win.
Yeah. Let's go with the Washington football team at the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to take the Bills to keep rolling.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed with Heineke last week. He didn't look as good as he did in that playoff game against the Bucs. But he had that brutal interception.
He had a bad interception, but he played pretty well. He had 300 passing yards.
Yeah, but I mean, again, this is the Giants defense. I thought,
you just never can give any credit to any NFC East opponent, I feel like.
I mean, listen, I really don't think he had that great of a game. That interception was brutal. He had to rely on just a horrific play on the field goal to win that game. He was 34
Lamar threw a pick 6 and you put him in your studs. What do you mean?
Yeah, but you know what? Lamar went and won the game.
The Ravens defense won the game because they first forced the fumble.
Oh, I mean, who's the one that converted on 4th down? Who's the one that scored the touchdowns before that? His defense also gave up 35 points. I mean, he gave up 6 of those, but his defense gave up the other 29.
Yeah.
He corrected that. That's the problem with that Heineke interception is he got lucky. Dexter Lawrence corrected for him because that game was over when he threw that pick.
Yeah. So we're both on the Bills. Then we have Colts at the Titans. I honestly, if Wentz was going to play, maybe I would take the Colts, but I think the Titans are going to win and the Colts are going to be 0-3. Not a good look for them, but great for our draft stock if Wentz plays at 75%. So
yeah, I heard that Wentz tried to go back in the game after I guess spraining both his ankles, which again, this is just nothing has changed about Carson Wentz. He's doing exactly what he was doing here.
I mean, Philly fans are going to be, they don't give a fuck anymore, but you got to feel at least somewhat bad for this guy. He just cannot stay healthy at all.
It goes back to look at how he plays. But you got to be smarter. This is the other thing that drives me nuts.
That's like telling, if you like to, that's like how he plays though. You can't just take that away from him.
Listen,
that's like telling Jalen Hurts you can't run the ball. You got to
no. All I'm saying is this guy's been. I mean, he literally led the league a couple times, I think, with the Eagles in sacks. He's been sacked so many times. Just go down. You're going to hurt yourself. I think he hurt himself when Aaron Donald wrapped him up and he was trying to fight out of it, and Aaron Donald had to bring him to the ground. He's like, bro, eventually you got to give up. Here you go. I'm going to sprain both your ankles.
I understand that, but who also the two highest sack quarterbacks in the league? Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson, and they do the same thing. It's just that's just how they play the game. Like you can't. I agree. Like there's times where he definitely, like we saw plenty of it in Philly, holds on to the ball way too long, makes dumb plays trying to extend, but that's how he plays. You're not going to be able to just change that overnight. So
it's also the front head slide. I hated it so much when Michael Vick was doing it, and he's doing it again. And
it's because of his knee. I think you just can't.
It's just slide. I mean, if someone's going to punch that ball out on him, I got distracted. Yeah, I would assume since he sprained both his ankles, Wentz isn't going to play. And because of that, I don't see them scoring enough points to beat the Titans. And man, that Titans defense stinks. Their secondary is awful. Yeah. That is one thing I took from that Seattle game is it was high scoring, but they needed every one of those points because that defense stinks.
Yep. All right. Then we have Saints at the Patriots. I'm going to go Patriots here. Why not? It's kind of a coin toss game, I feel like.
You know what? I want to talk myself into the other team you're going to pick, but the injuries to the Saints defense and Winston's inconsistencies from last week, I'm not in love with it. So I'll go Patriots.
Okay. Then we have Falcons at the Giants. I don't see the Giants winning this because they've not looked good. So
yeah, I mean the Falcons have also looked pretty bad. You know what? They both looked really bad recently, but I know that they're fighting. It's week 2 and the Giants are already yelling at each other with Golladay cursing out Judge or Garrett or Daniel Jones, whoever it is, doesn't really matter. So I'm going to say that they're going to save their season for this week and they'll win this game.
Okay. That's our first difference so far.
Well, that too. I was like, why don't we wait till 2 garbage teams play each other to pick on the other sides?
Next, we have Bengals and Steelers. This is interesting. I kind of want to go with the Bengals. I don't know.
Oh, you do that. This like the Packers did to the Lions and like the Bills to the Dolphins. This is going to be a get-right game, I think, for the Steelers. And they're going to use one of their division punching bags to beat them. I worry about Ben, man. Ben looks terrible. He looks washed up. But
Raiders were getting after him. He was pissed.
Man, the offensive line's not good, and he can't move. He can't move at all.
Yeah,
he looks pretty bad. I think they come up with something to get Najee Harris a little more involved and get the ball out of his hands quicker. I think that Bengals offense is going to be in trouble playing against that defense. Burrow did not have a great game last week, and the Steelers I expect to bring a lot of pressure at him, and we'll see how he responds to that.
Yeah, I think if the Bengals had a stronger defense, I would be more inclined to pick them, but I'm gonna have to go Steelers, and I think it will be a close game. I think it'll go down to the fourth quarter and be a touchdown or a field goal game. But
yeah, even if TJ Watt doesn't play, that defense is so deep. I still think that they're going to give Burrow fits.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Bengals are a bad team this year, but their defense is just still a work in progress. That's the problem. So.
Yeah, I mean, they have some pieces. Their offensive line is better than last year, but they need to improve that. The defense isn't very good. Listen, they're on the right path. They've got the skill players, and you got your quarterback. Hopefully, if you don't kill him before he enters his prime.
All right. Next game, Ravens at the Lions. We got a lot of lopsided games this week. I'm going to go Ravens. I think they keep the.
Yeah, you're right. So that means there's going to be at least one upset, and I don't think it's going to be the Ravens. The Lions, they put up good fight, and I was impressed in the first half, but eventually they came to earth, and the Lions.
Yeah. The next we have the Jets and the Broncos. Broncos going to be 3-0.
Oh yeah, man, this is.
I'm taking the.
You know what? I'm taking the Broncos because I'm thinking. Zach Wilson had a pretty brutal matchup against Bill Belichick in that defense, but now he's going to go against Vic Fangio and that Broncos defense, and Vic Fangio is going to have his way with Zach Wilson. I wouldn't be surprised to see another 3 interception game.
Fair enough. Then we have the Dolphins at the Raiders. I don't know what Tua's status is, but I can't imagine he's going to play with bruised ribs after 1 week. I'm going to go with the Raiders to go to 3-0.
Yeah, the Dolphins have really, really disappointed me so
Their
far.
defense looked horrible.
Yeah,
I was surprised.
they've really not looked good, like at all. I mean, they beat the Patriots, which was, I guess a strong win, but offensively, they can't really get anything going. They put up 17 points the first week, 0 this past week. Yeah. The Raiders obviously showed to be a very strong defense last couple of weeks, so I'm going to say the Raiders keep rolling.
Okay, this should be, not for our Birds Cowboys game. This should be game of the week. Buccaneers at the Rams. Two powerhouses going at it. Now, I will say, I did in my previous season preview, I said that the Rams were going to beat the Buccaneers early in the season. So I'll stick to that. I'm going to take the Rams.
Fair enough. I honestly could coin flip this game. I'm going to take the Buccaneers mostly because you took the Rams. But, I also that defense needs to step up, man. You can't give up the 25 points or whatever to the Falcons. Yeah. They patched down, they bunkered down at the end, but the Rams are going to be a different obstacle. They can't fall back on that lead. It's going to be a shootout. I'm excited for that. I'm curious to see what this defense does against Tom Brady, the Rams defense, but I think it's going to be a hell of a matchup. I'm excited for it. Sunday, this is the game I'm going to be looking forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Seahawks at the Vikings.
Actually, you know what? Another game I'm excited for because I already told you the Vikings are my must-watch, game they're my must-watch team this year that I have no expectations or have any hope for them doing well. But they're just so much fun to watch. And the Seahawks kind of fall into that realm too. I think this could be a fun game. So I'm going to take, you know what? The Vikings had 2 heartbreakers in the first 2 weeks. I think they win this one. You got to give your fans something to be happy about. And they've had some tough games to start the season.
I think there's another coin flip, so I was going to go with whatever you didn't go with. So I'll go Seahawks.
I mean, put it this way. They've scored 24, and what did they score this week? They scored 33 points. So they've scored 57 points so far this season and have lost by a combined 5 points in 2 games. That's some bad luck there, man. That's some high-scoring affairs, and I think the Seahawks are going to put up points. Yeah, they're fun to watch, though. Elite offense, not so great defense, but the Seahawks kind of are in that same boat. I think this is one to be excited for. You said that's the night game or the 4 o'clock?
4:25.
All right, so the 4:25 window has my eye.
The Sunday night game, Packers at the 49ers. I think it'll be close, actually, because I think the 49ers proved that their defense is pretty stout. I think the game the first week against the Lions was just like they got such a huge lead that they got lazy.
I agree.
But they showed like both sides of the trenches, offensive line and defensive line, were pretty good against the Eagles, who have pretty damn good offensive line and defensive line as well. So that being said, I'm going to take the Packers.
Fair enough. I like that little tease. Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot of lopsided games, so there's got to be a big upset somewhere. I think it's going to be the Niners over the Packers.
Oh,
listen, the Aaron Rodgers obviously went on his, I'm a Diva Jeopardy host living in Hawaii vacation.
He looks rough.
Yeah,
aged like 50 years.
Yeah, and that showed in week 1. And, now everything's kumbaya. We're all happy again. But you did beat up on the Lions. The Niners are going to be a better team. Jimmy G did not impress me at all last week. I thought he was really rough.
He's just mediocre quarterback. So
yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is a low-scoring game. I think the Niners defense line is going to be a lot to handle for the Packers offensive line, especially without Bakatari.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to take the Niners. I think they pull this one out. The Packers are dealing with some tough injuries. Losing Zadarius Smith and Dave Bakatari. I mean, those are arguably 2 of your best players on the lines.
Yeah.
So I'll say the Niners win that game.
Fair enough. And then our Monday night game, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, we can't pick anyone. This has to be one way.
I don't think I'm allowed to ever pick the Cowboys on this. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. Obviously, I'm going to go Birds.
Birds by millions.
Listen, you need to win this game.
Honestly,
you need to win this game.
It's rare to say must win in week 3, but based on they have the Panthers, the Chiefs, the Buccaneers coming up, they need to win this game.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, I mean, the next 3 are going to be tough. I don't see you beating the Buccaneers. The Panthers look legit now. I think that's going to be a tough game, and I don't think you're going to beat the Chiefs.
I think they can hang with the Panthers, but
we'll see. I mean, listen, if you beat Dallas and then go drop the next three, and you're 2-4. You're still 1-0 in the division, and you're 2-4, and you got the tough games out of your way. You can live with that.
I mean, I think they beat themselves against the Niners. They had that game.
Oh, they did have that game. No, they did have that game.
We'll see.
Man, I will not be all peaceful and happy and, okay and mild-mannered, like I was against them losing to the Niners if they lose next week. Because I'll forgive the Niners if you beat the Cowboys. You have to. This is a big game. Because you know what? This is going to put whoever wins this game in the driver's seat for the division.
That's true. Yeah, because I think Giants, Washington have tough matchups, and then we take the lead over Dallas. That'll be huge. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. It's all I'm going to be thinking about all week, and then I got to wait an extra day.
Waiting all day for Monday night, right?
Yeah, that's true. But hey, we'll see. Either they're going to break my heart, and I'm going to yell at my TV, and the whole nation's going to be laughing at us, or we're going to beat the Cowboys on national TV, and everyone's going crazy because we all hate the Cowboys.
Yeah.
The euphoria of beating the Cowboys on national TV, just so you can see what's trending on Twitter and what's everyone saying, what's ESPN talking about for the next hour. They love talking about Dallas win or lose. And if they're on national TV and they lose, oh, baby, it's going to be nonstop.
Oh, yeah.
Please. Because otherwise, if they beat the Eagles, then it's going to be all Cowboys mania. Give them the division. Give them the division. Here we come.
I was looking forward to Stephen A. after the Cowboys lose saying, how about them Cowboys?
Yeah, man. This would make me feel good. I need this.
Yeah. It would be nice. But till then.
We'll see. We'll see.
Any final thoughts, or are you just ready for more football?
Oh, I'm always ready for football. My football meter is never full.
It comes by pretty quick. I mean, we had a game on Monday. We're going to have a game on Thursday. Then we have games on Sunday. And then it just keeps going. And eventually when you get to November, December, we have Saturday games. So
it's true. No, I mean, the NFL does a good job of dominating what I think about it all the time.
That's true.
And, hey, the Thursday night game was a pretty solid game last week.
Was that right?
I mean, it wasn't highly competitive football. Yeah, it wasn't the best football I've ever seen, but it was competitive between two bad teams.
Yeah, now we have I forget who's fucking playing. Panthers and Texans, I think. Yeah. So
I'll keep my eye. Scout out the Panthers for when we play them in week 4.
Fair enough. All right.
All righty. It's been real. I'll talk to you.
Good talk. Peace out.
Go Birds.